You're listening to Eureka on Monocle Radio, brought to you by the team behind The Entrepreneurs, the show all about inspiring people, innovative companies, and fresh ideas in global business. I'm Tom Edwards, and I'm pleased to say I'm joined on the show this week by none other than Monocle's editor, Josh Fennett. Welcome to the show, Josh.
I feel like the billing at the beginning of the show doesn't add up to the guest you got.
Oh, well, listen, I'm very confident that we've got a real treat in store because you and our illustrious colleague, Andrew Tuck, were recently in Sweden, as I understand it, Josh, and that's what you're here to tell us about. You're at an event hosted by the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce, indeed. Tell us a little bit, what were you and Andrew doing there, and what did you find out whilst you were there?
Well, we had a great trip. This was late August and it was the last flush of summer. The event was organised for 325 business leaders, 20 industry-leading speakers from across the Nordics, and 2 rather haphazard journalists who turned up to cover it. So Andrew did a brilliant panel discussion, but throughout the day we heard from the CEO of SAS, the Scandinavian airline. We heard from the Prime Minister of Sweden. And there were lots of interesting layered stories about the opportunities of doing business across the Nordics, why a bit of closer integration between those countries matters, and also some of the challenges ahead. We heard about the problem with illness-related leave in Norway. We heard about the issues of corporate neutrality. Can a company today ever be totally neutral when, the countries that host it and its products are abroad? So we're trying to bring to life some of those stories across the radio schedule and across the magazine. And that brings us to the gentleman who we're going to hear from today.
Well, yeah, and I wanted to get you to sort of introduce the interview we're about to hear on this week's programme, Josh, because you heard from a co-founder and a CEO of, a platform that does something really interesting, I guess, in the business funding, in the startup sort of ecosystem space. Tell us whom we're going to hear from.
Well, we actually met Andreas Grape, who is the CEO of Nordic Angels, on a boat steaming its way out of Stockholm city proper towards where the event hosted by the Chamber of Commerce was held in Archipelag, which is an art gallery out in the archipelago. And aboard this kind of boat, there were lots of discussions, business leaders breaking croissants and drinking coffee. And I had a chat to Andreas, and one of the premises of the day was that it was all going to be done by Chatham House rules, so you weren't supposed to kind of explain who said what. So this industry leader is going to tell you this, but it's going to be an insight of your own. So we had to obviously agree to record the interview and speak to him, but he was there to glean some ideas, to talk to the business community and to talk about his idea, which is that social media doesn't always need to be a space of anonymity. It doesn't need to be untrustworthy. It could be a genuine space where people can share business insights and ideas about funding and about what they're really passionate about. And I think that also comes across in the interview. He's a character who, for his first business, took out a £10,000 loan in his early 20s and invested in a business he believed in. He eventually got an exit from that business, did well out of it, but worked for them for many years. And I think he's passionate about meeting new people and about giving people the opportunity that he had to start a successful business, to secure funding, and to have a strong social network around it that isn't done through zeros and ones, through backlit screens, but it's done through proper, actual human networking, facilitated by good technology.
Let's hear what he had to say.
I'm the co-founder together with Ashpur. Ashpur is a very strong force for doing very good stuff in the Nordics. He's the founder of Brilliant Minds, for instance, which is one of the world's most sought-after conference. I was lacking an angelist for the Nordics, and he had an idea about creating a high-trust social media network in the Nordics. And to define, the angels, who they are, it's actually people who are contributing with either their capital, their network, or engagement in helping startups scale up actually succeed. So we're all dependent on this very important group of people, but most of them are not visible. They don't like to stand on the fences and talking about, they having capital that they want to invest. So that's actually happens between, you actually back each other, investors back each other. So we include VCs, private equity, representative from private equity funds, politicians, advisors, mentors, different kinds, and of course, high net worth individuals who spend time, effort, capital in actually helping startups scale up, succeed. A lot of people talk about the collaboration between, cross borders. That you heard that on the stage today, and actually this is some kind of solutions to actually. So people, I listened to this guy who said we need a platform. But actually, we created that platform. So it's already out there. And we're the biggest investor network in the Nordics ever.
So you mentioned the stage, so we should set the scene for listeners. We're at a particular event hosted by the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce. Would you say that you're a Swedish business, a Stockholm-based business? You talk about being across borders, but how important is a sense of place to you and to the company?
I mean, if you think of it, we have a lot of capital in the Nordics, but nobody's ever mobilized that capital. Usually this target group is very interesting for banks and others to actually reach out to because they want to help them grow their money or whatever, sell services to them. We don't sell anything to our members. We just created stuff that they actually like. So our core business is trust and relationships. We built a platform for that. We also do in-depth research together with the BCG, a report that calls State of European Angels, that we can look at how does UK and governments in UK support the local startup ecosystems. And we can, show politicians here, but also be a voice for this important group who supports the entrepreneurs in media. We also do events. So we did Angel Prize last year. It was the first and biggest investor gala in Europe, bringing in 1,000 angels, investors, family offices, representative from all over Sweden coming to Stockholm. And of course, we do podcasting media and social media, etc. So we do a lot of stuff to actually get this important group to actually work and collaborate even better together. And the beautiful thing is that everybody wins.
And when we talk about social media, and I think you said high trust social media, high trust social network, is there a cultural thing that you need to do to, reassure people? Because a lot of people have lost some faith in the capacity of social media to make and forge meaningful connections. Also, sometimes it can be a force for negative, it can be divisive, and, your information may not even be safe on certain social media platforms. How did you go about, telling people the good news, telling people the story about what the technology can do rather than the bad news we get hit with about how technology can sometimes be misused?
Yeah, our social media platform is more based on sharing the possibilities that you have, sharing your portfolio companies with others. So the group of people, the angels they're usually an entrepreneur that made an exit, want to give back to society. So they have a lot of knowledge. So it's more of not maybe signaling, and we don't sell commercial into the platform. That's not our business model. It's more of sharing your portfolio companies or, investing in other portfolio companies. Of course, news. We have a news feed in the platform and a lot of other services that the group of people actually ask for, but we also build stuff that they haven't asked for, but we know that they want them. For instance, a portfolio management tool. So we have a lot of services in the platform. If you think of why is this important, So if you ask an angel in Stockholm, or if you ask an angel in London to name drop 2 or 3 in Oxford, they probably cannot do that. So angel investing is very local, but their portfolio companies could be much broader than just being local, right? So getting an angel from Helsinki to invest in a Stockholm-based company could be like the difference between success or not. So that is one of our theses, that people don't know each other. They also spend time in, helping, the Baltic Sea, for instance. Some of our members put a lot of money into actually saving the Baltic Sea, but they have never heard about each other. So this is a way of collaboration. If we can agree upon that the target group is crucial for entrepreneurs, nobody's ever built anything for this target group without expecting anything back. They always want something back. We don't want anything back from our members. So it's an invite-only platform, but we're invitive and we're independent. It's very important.
And so people listening will be interested, and I know we had a conversation earlier and you sort of slightly bemoaned, people being quick to ask, what's the revenue stream? How are you monetizing this? What makes this a business, other than the fact that you're going to get people to use it? What's the outcome, the net positive outcome? Is it just purpose-driven, or is there something where you can see yourself potentially, being one of those investors and seeing the opportunity first even?
Yeah, of course, I'm an entrepreneur and an investor going 15 years back, but everybody wins. That's the great thing about it. And we did not start this to maximize our own values, fortune, or whatever you say. We started this because we had the capital to do it, to actually build the stuff, and also the knowledge, because we are ourselves the target group for this. Which means that we need a sustainable business model without monetizing our members. Because soon you start to monetize your members, they don't okay, this is why they built this, etc., etc. So it's more of just bringing value, and then we can do galas, podcasts, etc., and make money out of that to be sustainable. That's some of our business models. And of course we have a lot of, we have interest companies around us that actually, I mean, for instance, we came up with the idea of how can we connect people on an event. So we created an app that you didn't have to download or upload, that we gamify the meeting between two people in a room or several hundreds of people in a room. That's very commercial. It's very, business oriented, but it's not our core business. So we like new innovation, and we innovate for ourselves, and of course, amazing people get in contact with us.
And with the caliber of the people you're dealing with, there may be other businesses down the line, there may be interesting things that come from it, and this is clearly something that you're very passionate about. Now, a lot of our listeners have started their own businesses, a lot of our readers, maybe after the financial crisis, their job at a big bank went kaput and they decided to do something interesting and on their own. So I think, at Monocle, we like to talk about the opportunity. We also like to talk about the journey that you've been on. How did you end up here, and what was your kind of Eureka moment when you said, I'm going to start this business? This is the space I want to be in.
Yeah. Well, I had the great fortune when I was 21 to invest in a very small company that went very successfully here in Sweden. So I got a foundation of capital that I actually could invest. The company name was Academic Work, and it's been around for 25 years now. Back in 2008, I was inspired to do, my own journey. So I created a company called One Agency. It was an IT consultancy company that went very successful. And I sold that company 3 years ago. And during that time, I was eager to invest in tech product. I wanted to see the scalability. So I'm also an investor in 20 companies for myself. But doing so was more of, when you've done that for a while and you don't have an operational part, so then you say, okay, I can choose whatever I want to work with, etc. So actually I moved to Mallorca.
Okay.
I took the family and went down there for 1 year. But after 1 year, it was I was 39. I still had a lot of energy within me, and I had a lot of ideas and amazing network that I could do great stuff with. So I'm working actually really much now on building this. So we did this with the aim of actually West has decided to win and East as well. Europe hasn't decided so much as a combined union when it comes to tech and investments, etc. So we've created this to prove a thesis in the Nordics, and of course we want to expand in the future outside of Nordics.
Amazing.
But maybe Europe only. We'll see.
And I want to know, do your passions change like anyone who reads one book one day and gets bored of it and wants to read something different the next year? Do the businesses that you want to involve yourself with evolve with that same curiosity? You find an area and you say, actually, I didn't know a thing about this, that's where I want to move next. Or have you built up an understanding of an ecosystem that you can see yourself sticking in?
I would say that being an investor in a company, of course, you fall in love sometimes with the entrepreneurs because, they're passionate about what they do. If you can combine that, of course, if you have talent within what they want to achieve, and of course a company has, different kind of stages while they grow. I usually say that I'm a pretty good guy from 0 to 7 years. After that, I'm not the strongest card out there. There are much better people, taking the company further. But, it's quite classic, if you can find something that you're talented within, that you feel is meaningful, and that you have some kind of self-power or control of your own time, if you find that in what you do and actually can find an economical part of it that you actually can live from it, then you're a lucky guy, right? And most people, of course, maybe are not there, but it's a continuous journey. I meet people all the time that's 50 plus years and they still don't know what they want to do with their life while they're 50, what I want to do when I grow up.
Yeah.
They can tell me. It's I think we all can relate to that.
That was Andreas Grape, the co-founder and CEO of Nordic Angels, in conversation with our very own Josh Fennett. My thanks to them both. You can learn more about Andreas's work by heading to nordicangels.com. And that's all for this episode of Eureka. We'll be back at the same time next week. The programme was produced by Laura Kramer with audio editing by Jack Dewars. If you'd like to get in touch with the team, then do email Laura. She's on lrk@monocle.com. I'm Tom Edwards. Goodbye, and thanks for listening to Eureka.
"2024 is a pivotal year for global politics. Meanwhile, conflict, climate change, and AI dominate the headlines. What do these global stories mean for you? The Financial Times offers fearless thinking in defining moments. Its trusted journalists deliver impartial analysis on the world's biggest news events, helping you to form your own bold opinions. Start reading the Financial Times at ft.com.